So yes, absolutely, it shaped me. It shaped me a ton, and I've been lucky enough to have, you know, been able to take with me along the way after the engineering experience with the problem solving and the level of rigor, the McKinsey experience with the, again, you know, problem solving, more top down Pareto approach to problem solving and storytelling, and with the experience across a lot of the different industries and you know, verticals, I kind of have developed a, you know, very broad toolkit that I can use to develop solutions for a lot of the problems we face day to day work in our, you know, in Qualtrics. You know, it's stood me well.
About these tools and customer success.
Yeah.
So what is customer success? What are the great things about it? And then what are some really big challenges you've faced, especially with like the pandemic going on, economic crisis, stuff like that? What has changed during the years?
What has changed? So, I mean, customer success as a function, as a profession, really has evolved a ton in the last 10, 15 years, and it continues to evolve. That's why it's a kind of a fun place to work, because we're still defining our best practice and what good looks like, right? And we continue to innovate at pace. I often get asked this by people, what's the difference between customer success and account management, or what's the difference between customer success and insert, you know, any other function here. I think the key difference for me, and as I said, this is still an evolving space, is if you're just account management, you're there just to make sure all the things that are hygiene that the customer might expect work, right? And so do they have the bills that they need to have? Can they pay their bill? Can they, you know, if you're in technology, do they have all of the kind of the users and the administrators set up in the right way? If there's a support issue, is being dealt with in the right way? Is the customer happy, right? i.e. with the product they've bought? These are all hygiene things. These are things that you would expect to work anyway. I think the customer success dimension, you know, is built on top of the general account management. Becomes a little bit more strategic, because you're making sure the customer actually not only, you know, does well on the hygiene dimensions, right, and is happy on the hygiene dimensions, but also continues to capture more and more value associated with the solution that they have procured from their vendor, in this case Qualtrics. And so the CSM can actually step in and become part of the solution and move the needle for the customer and for their business, and you know, therefore kind of is a much higher value add resource than a you know, basic account manager, right? And so that's why we're able to drive the business value to our customers, which drives the high renewal rates that we look to drive for our business, and also expansion of our customers' programs and expansion of their relationship with Qualtrics, which I think is far more satisfying, right? And that's back to the building piece for me, right? You know, you're helping a customer build successful programs, successful businesses, and in turn, you're helping Qualtrics build a successful business too, which is something that I think is far more fulfilling than going in and just doing some of the hygiene things that a customer might expect in their account. And I think for me, we're continuing to define what good looks like there on the strategic stuff. So you're asking about how it's evolved and the innovation and whatever else. I think, you know, building the playbooks and the standard ways of working to democratize the way in which we help our customers, and to continue to build them best practice in XM, you know, that is based off kind of what the best in class customers we work with do, but bringing that to all of our other customers, I think is something that is, you know, still not as consistent as we want it to be. Mm-hmm. And that's where we've been innovating and pushing the boundaries over the last year or so, right? Because 2020 was an interesting year for all of us, I think, in with the global pandemic, and I think customers then went back to basics in terms of what they look for from a vendor. I think what that allowed us to do actually was to change our relationship with customers as well, because in a world of business as usual, keep the lights on activity, you know, there's maybe, there's a tendency for customers to treat some of their solutions or some of their vendors as just quite transactional. 2020 kind of created a ton of uncertainty and allowed us to step into a bit of a vacuum that the customer had around kind of what do I do now, right? How do I make sure, for instance, how do I make sure that my employees are all now safe, right? As an employer, right? Okay, now that they're safe, how do I make sure that, all right, they're safe, but they're now productive because they got to work from home, right? That most of them have probably never worked from home, right? How do we do that, right? How do I make sure that when they start to come back into the office, they do so in a safe way and they're also productive in a new hybrid environment, right? These are all new questions for customers to ask, and they're questions that customer success in Qualtrics help them answer. And in helping customers answer those questions for the first time, you build a relationship and a rapport and a level of trust with that customer that you might never have had in a business as usual environment, right? So it was actually key for us in deepening our relationships with customers and helping customers understand the value we could bring to them and their business. And some of the deeper relationships that some CSMs have were forged during 2020 or early 2021 when there was a lot of uncertainty, right? And here we go again, facing more uncertainty, right? Yeah. We got a global macroeconomic conditions are, far from ideal. We know we probably have some element of a storm ahead, and our customers are figuring out how to react, how to better retain their customers, what's most important to their own customers, what's important to their employees, how do they make sure their employees are going to be more productive. And these are questions that our CSMs are geared up to help them answer, continue to build that relationship and become more strategic.